And you're listening to the Popcorn Conspiracy on centralcoastradio.com. Now, one of the films to earn an Oscar nomination this year, in fact, a couple of Oscar nominations, was the brand new film starring Bill Nye called Living. Now, this is a film that is directed by Oliver Hermanus, and it sees Nye play this kind of humorless civil sergeant named Williams who works in a 1950s council office that is pretty much a bureaucratic nightmare. Here, workers never seem to actually get any work done, and as newcomer Peter Wakeling, played by Alex Sharp, soon discovers, anyone that comes into the office with an inquiry is sent on a never ending journey from department to department as the buck just keeps getting passed on. Williams's life, though, changes forever when he is told that he's terminally ill. And instead of telling his son Michael, played by Barney Fishwick, and his daughter-in-law Fiona, played by Patsy Farron, the news. He draws out his life savings out of the bank and goes to a seaside town where he plans on killing himself. However, when a young writer named Sutherland, played by Tom Burke, shows Williams the night of his life and shows him how to live, he decides to not go through with his suicide and instead arrives back home, eager to make a difference before he dies. Here he decides to help a group of women who want to turn a World War II bomb site into a playground. And he also wants to help his co worker, Margaret Harris, played by Amy Lou Wood, achieve her dreams of a better life and a better job. But Williams's secret is threatened to be exposed when those around him begin to wonder about his closeness with Margaret, and the two soon become a victim of gossip, which infuriates Michael and Fiona. Now, there's a lot of praise out there at the moment for this film, Living. But Kyle, what did you think of Living?
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. I didn't know going into it that it was a remake of the 1952 Akira Kurosawa film Ikuru, which means to live, um, for but done for modern audiences. And I think the film was in good hands. Like when you think of how do you remake a Kurosawa film, you need to have something really some a really big name behind it to actually pull it off. Um, and the screenplay for this was actually written by Katsuro Ishiguro, who's actually a Nobel Prize winner. So it was in good hands, and I think that it was a wise decision to not so much try to do a scene for scene remake, because the original one is a quite lengthy 143-minute sort of epic. This one, it kind of just boiled the ideas down to their basics to present them for uh, a more concise kind of intimate portrait of this man at the end of his days. Um, I really enjoyed it. Obviously, a lot of the movie really does hinge on Nye's performance, and you can see why this earned him an Oscar nomination. It was I guess a pity that it was quite a a high competition year for Oscars, because I think that Nye really does give a great performance in this. Bill Nye, he's somebody that's been playing old characters for what feels like 30 or 40 years.
Yeah.
And but this one, it's much more of he's playing a much more frail and introverted character than I've ever seen him play before. Like, he kind of has this air of this almost the consummate gentleman that all the other people that work with him, they all have utmost respect for him and respect for his position, but they don't really know him as a person. And I mean, the respect that they have for him is just the same respect that he has for his superiors as well. It's like he doesn't actually have that personable relation with anybody, like especially even with his own children. Um, so I thought it was really interesting when he meets Sutherland in on that sea the beachfront fair kind of area. Tom Burke was uh yeah he was such a it was an interesting thing seeing how how Mr. Williams kind of influences those around him. like Sutherland in some ways he kind of makes like in the same way that Sutherland helps him see kind of a bit more of the joy in life, he actually kind of seems to change Sutherland a bit as well, just in their
Mm,
one night of knowing each other. Um, and yeah, of course as well the relationship between him and Mrs. Harris, Amy Lou Wood's character, is really great as well. Kind of like this, like something that would be seen as scandalous, but really he just wants to spend time with somebody. And it's kind of sad that he's spending time with her, not his own kids, not
yeah.
his own son and his own daughter-in-law. And yeah, it's kind of it's an interesting like look at just like the the relationship of of how this guy who's kind of he's gone his entire life. He's always just wanted to be this gentleman, but in doing so, he's kind of forgotten to actually live his life. Um, I thought that the uh, it kind of takes a almost a how would I say a non-linear turn towards the end, almost like you're seeing the movie all in like a chronological part, but then really at the third act of the movie, it almost felt like when I was watching the movie that we had missed a reel of the
Yeah.
film. Like it had just skipped because it does quite a time skip, and then a lot of it is told in flashback. And I thought that was a really effective uh uh moment of the movie. Again, I'm not sure if this happens in the Kurosawa original, but that was the part that, like, that entire third act had me like almost in tears. Like that entire part of the movie was such a powerful moment that like the rest of the film up until that point, even finding out about his diagnosis and all that, nothing had really hit me as much as that final third. And it wasn't that it was sad, it was that it was really like life affirming. Like that whole section of the film is just a really powerful, important, like that's where the movie really it really grabs you in that final third of the film. So I really did enjoy this film. I think they did a really great job in again, I can't say it because I haven't really seen the Kurosawa original, but I think that they did a really great job in kind of adapting this for modern English speaking audiences, having it set in London, 1950s and all that. But yeah, I think it's really impressive, kind of a bittersweet uh kind of really emotional movie, and yeah, I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I found this to be a film where there's a lot of trust between director and leading man in this
Mm,
film. There's large moments of this movie where there's no dialogue, and Bill Nye moves those moments along. He's one of those actors where he doesn't need to be speaking to get something across. Like there's a lot of times in this film where it'll be a glance from Williams, nice character, or a nod of his head that shows what's exactly happening in that scene, and it works really, really well. And I think there's a lot of actors out there that would not have been able to pull off this movie the way that Bill Nye is able to do. My only kind of issue I had with this movie was kind of the inclusion of Wakeling as a character, because he doesn't move the story along at all. He
mm,
feels like a character that's kind of just there to serve the purpose of being the vehicle that the story is told through, but then even that becomes problematic because he's not there all of the time. So the film kind of starts off from his point of view, starting his first day at this new job and him meeting Williams and everybody else. But then a lot of the film is told at times when he's not there.
mm, mm,
So it almost feels like the film should have been told from Williams's point of view from the very start. So that was my only weakness with this film, was that they kind of had a character there that felt like he was just there to be the vehicle to start and end the film kind of thing, and really didn't have much to do with what happened with the rest of the film. But for me, this film works. It works really, really well. I love Bill Nye's performance. I love the fact that this is a movie that will make you stop and think and go away and think about your own life as well. Um, but look, all of the Oscar nominations this film had, it deserved. It got a nomination for Best Adapted Screenplay. It definitely deserved that. And an Oscar nomination for Bill Nye. And he thoroughly enjoyed that as well because this was an absolutely brilliant performance. What are you going to give this one out of five and why?
I'm going to give this 4 out of 5. Yeah, just because, like I said, just I it was funny at the start. I really did get dragged into it at the start with just the humor, and I love Bill Nye. Like one of the earliest films that I ever saw him in was Still Crazy, the one about the band, and like I said,
Yeah.
that was quite a while ago, and that was a movie where he was playing a senior a senior rocker. So, yeah, it's just I Bill Nye, like he's had a really interesting later end of his career, and I think that this really does. I think no other actor I think could have really sold this movie to me as well as he did. So I really did enjoy this film. Yeah, 4 out of 5 for me.
Yeah, I'm giving it 4 out of 5 as well. I think as a Bill Nye fan, this is a movie that you need to go and see if you love Bill Nye because I think this is the role that a lot of people are going to remember him in. So
Mm.
4 out of 5 from me as well. The film Living, it's called Living. It is on it's not a cinematic release as in it's in every cinema. It's on limited release. So make sure you check with your local cinema if Living is screening or not. And if you really want to try and find a way to find out where the film is screening, then have a look on somewhere like IMDb or flicks.com.au and check out and see where it's screening near you. That's probably the best way to find limited releases. But that's it for what we're talking about with Living. We'll be back in a moment on centralcoastradio.com with the Popcorn Conspiracy.